and welcome to Orient Live here in the Bray Group Stadium for this match between Leyton, Orient and Crawley Town. Usually around this time of season we talk about the players being already on the beach. We don't usually talk about match day host presenters as well, but you'll be pleased to see maybe that Ollie Buck will be back next week. And we are giving the oldies a bit of a run around as well. So you've got me, myself, Andrew Butler, and Jabba Ibre in the studio as well. And it's also around this time of season where we give the youngsters a run around as well. So Brendan Pitcher's also here with us in the studio. The lads are already down at the People's Pension Stadium in Crawley, and we'll look ahead to the game which kicks off at 3 o'clock. But before anything else, let's look at the Orient team for this afternoon. And talking of youngsters getting a run around, we will come on to Zek Orbiero, who you'll see on the team sheet there for the first time. But number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. Number 3, Connor Wood. Paul Smith in there. There he is, still there. Theo Archibald, number 11. Number 14, Otis Khan. 15, Alex Mitchell. 16, Aaron Drynan. 19, Omar Beckles. 26, Hector Kiprianou. 29, that man, Zek Orbiero. And number 32, Jordan Brown. And on the bench for the O's this afternoon, Sam Sargent, Matt Young, Jaden Sweeney, Dan and Krumer, Ethan Coleman, and another youngster who will probably come on to at some stage as well this afternoon, Rion Smith-Kouassi, another youngster making his way into the Orient fold this afternoon. So let's start with you, Jabbo. Your reaction to today's team news. I mean, I mentioned Paul Smith a bit there. We'll come on to him shortly, but what do you make of the news?
Yeah, fantastic. I was hoping that there'd be a youngster in and around it, and I'm happy to see that Orbiero is starting. I think this stage of the season, it's nice for the manager to give a talented player an opportunity to show what he's about. So I'm really pleased to see what he can do.
Yeah, Brendan, you were here last week as well for that defeat against Northampton. What do you make of the changes to this lineup?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the main one is obviously Raul Sotiriou is out and not even on the bench, so we presume he's picked up an injury there, and I think he was struggling a little bit with his fitness, so maybe that's a reoccurrence of that problem. And then obviously Zek Orbiero coming into that number 10 role. It's really exciting player. I think we've seen some clips of him in the youth team previously. He scored some great goals. He looks like a real talent, and to play in that number 10 role where he'll have a lot of freedom and probably, hopefully, Richie Wens will just let him off the leash and give him a chance to see what he can do. He's a very young lad, but incredibly exciting. We've seen previously people like Moses Odubajo, I remember, coming in at this stage of the season and then going on to have a real impact in the season afterwards. So hopefully it might be the case here. Yeah,
let's stick with Zek Orbiero because, Jabba, we've got the benefit of having you in the studio, which is always an absolute pleasure. But you break through as a youngster at Orient. How important are these kind of games to kind of show what you're about, to make your mark on the team? Because you can do it in training, but it's a different proposition on Saturdays.
Yeah, of course. I mean, sometimes you have the adage of being a training player and then going out onto the pitch to do it when the opportunity comes. And as a youngster, there's nothing better than you like getting the opportunity, especially when you've come through the youth team and suddenly the manager's in training. You suddenly start feeling it because you'd be training and then suddenly you do the 11 aside and then you're in the 11 aside starting lineup. You're thinking, what is this? Sometimes they put you in just for cover, but suddenly you're in there and you're just thinking, what could actually start? So you're a bit nervous, but you're obviously buzzing for the opportunity. Then Friday comes, they're picking the team, and you're like, oh, I'm actually starting. So he's obviously going to be buzzing. Probably had a sleepless night yesterday, but I mean, it's what you play for, and it's lovely to see. And I think he's a local. Is he local as well? I think so. But yeah, he's going to be buzzing. It's the perfect time to sort of make your claim, show the manager that I'm potentially ready. You can trust me, especially in that role. If he does the business, he's got a good chance to be in and around it next year.
And how important is it for the kind of the rest of the team to rally around him as well, to kind of give him that encouragement to make sure that he feels welcome, because it will be an intimidating atmosphere, not just because of his age, but because of the fact that this team is they've got a lot of appearances under their belt already this season. They'll know how each other plays as well. How important is it for the rest of the team to kind of get behind someone like Zek this afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, often when you're a young player coming through and everyone can see you've got a bit of talent about you, normally the senior pros really take a shine into you and sort of give you words of encouragement in the week. I remember when I was making my starting debut, I had Steve Watts around me giving me some banter, but he was always very encouraging. So I'd imagine the likes of Pratley and some of the fellow midfielders were giving him the words of wisdom, just telling him, go and enjoy yourself, we've got your back. And they want to see him blossom. When you're a bit of an older player as well, you kind of, it's like it's on your shield watching a youngster come through and them going on to bigger and better things. Like I was part of that, helping him. So they'll be behind him. 100%.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, we might speak about him as well as Rion Smith, Kouassi as well later on. But Brendan, let's look back to last Saturday and that defeat against Northampton. Was it pretty much in hindsight just a case of losing against a better team?
Yeah, I think they were a more motivated team. Certainly, they were obviously backed by that away crowd in a game where they needed to win to keep their automatic promotion hopes alive. They delivered. They looked well up for it. They outran us. They were getting balls in the box, causing us problems, and I think Richie Wellens will be really disappointed with some of the defending. I think we highlighted saying about the fact that perhaps they scored the most set pieces in the league going into that game, and then we conceded 2 set pieces to them. So he'll be disappointed with that. But if you look at the positives from it, I thought going forward we were excellent against they've got the best defence in the league, and we tore them apart a few times. And then even still, when we're 4-2 down or 4-1 down at half time, we came back and showed a reaction and were the better side, and were a couple of chances maybe went in around the hour mark, could have pulled off something remarkable. So yeah, I think it obviously wasn't ideal, but it wasn't a completely disastrous result as perhaps a 4-2 scoreline might suggest.
Yeah, and it was nice to see the likes of Jordan Brown. He got a goal last Saturday, and he keeps his place this afternoon as well. Yeah,
we've got an interesting situation, I think, with the amount of really young central midfielders we've got at the club, and Jordan Brown at the minute on his current form is putting his head above the rest in terms of what he's contributing. He got an assist the other week, and he got a goal last weekend, so that's what you want from your midfielders. It's probably something we haven't seen maybe enough from our central midfielders this season in terms of popping up with goal contributions, and he's already done that in his short time in the pitch, and I think fully warrants a start today.
Yeah, we'll speak about Orient in the coming minutes as well. But Jabba, this afternoon's game is it's a strange old one because it's the 13th against 12th. How do you get yourself up for a game like this? If you've kind of got a contract in the bag for the following season, if you've kind of proved yourself over the course of the season, how much of it is mainly about kind of personal pride? And we hear a lot actually about footballers never ever want to lose, but away at Crawley on the second last game of the season, how much does that do you think about that much?
I think luckily it's a local team, like local enough. It's in just outskirts of London, because of sometimes if you're playing far away, sometimes, especially at this stage of the season, it's just a bit like, we have to get through this game. But luckily, it is Crawley. It's a bit of a, say derby, but there's a bit in it, sort of thing. And because you're playing for 12th and 13th, if they win, they leapfrog them. So there's a little bit of something on it. You're definitely up for it because no one likes to lose, and you want to keep that momentum going into next season. But I think the manager's words at the start of the game in the dressing room would be very important to motivate the players for sure.
Yeah. Brendan, going back to you and back to Orient, one man who has certainly impressed over the last few weeks and in the second half of the season is Paul Smith. We spoke to him a bit earlier in the week about kind of the way that he's come back from certain injuries and has become such a fulcrum in this team. What have you made of his contribution since pretty much to the turn of the year?
Yeah, I don't think his quality was ever in doubt. Even in the short spells he had on the pitch in the first half of the season, he looked an unbelievable player for the level, and it was just about trying to get him fit, trying to get him a run of games. And as these clips are showing, in the second half of the season, he's shown that quality, he's pushed on, and for me he's been our best player over the last, probably since Richie Wellens has come in. I think he's bringing a consistency to his game. He's always looking to make something happen. He's always on the turn. Some of that was just a ridiculous burst of pace, and I think from listening to some of his interviews, and we had him on the Twitter space on Thursday, it sounds like he's really enjoying his football at the minute. He's enjoying the fact that he's back playing, first of all, but also having that responsibility, because I think if you look back at his career previously, I think he's been kind of maybe pigeonholed as that kind of impact sub at a higher level at clubs with people like QPR and even with Northern Ireland, but at Orient he's firmly the main man now under Richie Wellens, and it's so exciting that hopefully, as long as fingers crossed he stays fit, we've got another season of him under Richie Wellens, which he could be anything this league. He could easily, don't know, big call maybe, could win a Player of the Year maybe next season.
Jabbo, how about you?
Big cool. No. I allude to what Brendan said. He's been fantastic and he's very industrious. He drives, and he's been like a main man in a time where you needed someone to step up, and he stepped up to the plate. So long may it continue. He stays fit, and it'd be exciting to see him and Rail together next season. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, let's look at this afternoon's opposition. We are playing Crawley Town, obviously, down at the People's Pension Stadium. So let's have a look at their starting lineup. There's a familiar name in goal for Crawley this afternoon. That's Glenn Morris. They've got Jordan Tunnicliffe, Ludwig Francelet, Joel Lynch, James Tilley, George Frankham, Jake Hessenthaler, also a very familiar name to Orient fans, Isaac Hutchinson, Tom Nichols, Ashley Naderson, and then on the bench is Taylor Seymour, Owen Gallagher, Archie Davis, Tony Craig, Aramida Ote, and Mark Marshall. Now, Brendan, you've looked at Crawley. What do you make of kind of their season as a whole and what their lineup would suggest that they're going to try and do this afternoon?
Yeah, Crawley are one of those teams that on their day can beat anyone, and when they raise their game, they're a very, very good side, but they're a little bit inconsistent. I think we saw even with last season with their FA Cup run and beating Leeds in the FA Cup, that shows that they can raise their game to a whole new level, and they do it against us quite often. I think they've been our bogey team in recent times, and they seem to be motivated to play against us. Like Jabbo says, it's not quite a derby, but it's local enough-ish for them, especially in a league like this one where there's not a lot of southern teams. So they really do kind of motivate themselves, but as we've seen with kind of off the field things, they are in a bit of turmoil at the minute with the suspension of their manager, and since that's occurred they've had 2 games and they've lost 1-2-0 and the other 3-0, so it probably has affected their performance a little bit. So we've got to kind of take advantage of that, and we've got to be the ones that are fully motivated, because it's not a lot to play for, but I think finishing 12th would be an achievement, and that would only be achievable if we do win these last 2 games. Yeah,
absolutely. And Jabbo, we've picked out a player who you're very, very, I mean, I said Orient fans will be familiar with him, but you're very familiar with Glenn Morris. Still flying the flag down at Crawley, playing in goal, of course, for him. We've got some clips of him, but I wonder if you and Brendan would want to talk your way through Glenn Morris's game.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately I was lucky enough to play with him coming through the youth team, and had some good years together, and he was always just a fantastic shot stopper, and his agility, and we used to call him the cat, because he just spring to action. Everyone sort of questioned his height, but his reactions and his shot stopping was always unbelievable, and and I'm just amazed. I'm just happy for him that he's still going strong, and as you can see here, always alert, always sharp. He's a fantastic guy as well, so long may it continue.
Yeah, he's such an important player for Crawley as well. I think he's won numerous Player of the Year awards during his time there. I was doing a bit of research, and I was reading articles where Crawley journalists were calling him the greatest goalkeeper in the club's history, which is some claim. And he's been there a while now. He's part of the furniture. I think he's 38 now, but I think he still might have I think I'm right in saying he has another year left, so we might be seeing him again next season as well.
Well, hopefully. I mean, hopefully we also score a couple of goals against them this afternoon. And Brendan, is there anyone else there in the Crawley team that you kind of we should be keeping an eye out on?
I think they've got a forward in Ashley Naderson, who, again, a bit like Crawley himself, is like on his day, he's a very good forward at the level, but perhaps a little bit inconsistent, struggles to put in performances week in, week out, but on his day he can trouble us. He can run in behind, he can stretch the game, and he'll be the main kind of danger going forward if Glenn Morris is going to be the danger the other way and keeping the goals out.
Certainly, and one person who will be certainly hoping to score against Glenn Morris is Theo Archibald, who's enjoyed a very good season in his first season here at the Bray Group Stadium. We caught up with him earlier in the week to get his thoughts ahead of this afternoon's game.
Theo, it's been a while since we last spoke, and I think things have changed a bit since the new head coach come in. So how have you found it since new manager's come in?
It's been thoroughly enjoyable. Everyone's taken to the new style of play really well. I think actually probably better than maybe we even expected, to be honest. I think results have been quite a stark contrast from the turn of the year to February, and from February until now it's been quite a huge difference. It's been a big confidence boost for a lot of players. And everyone's bought into the style. It's just been a really enjoyable couple of months. Granted, it's a shame that we're not playing for anything, and it would have been nice if we still could have, if we had 10 games left and we thought, like we could do another 7 or 8, we could get another 7 or 8 wins here. But that's not to be. So we'll try and finish off the season as strongly as possible, and everyone who's here next year will be ready to go and firing at the start of next season.
For you personally, how have you found the season? To make it over 15 goal involvement, seems to really enjoy football again.
Yeah, no, this season's been thoroughly enjoyable for me. I mean, like I just said, it would have been nice to get to this point of the season and for us all to be playing for something. Ultimately, I think that's what everybody wants, the fans, the staff and the players. Everyone wants to be fighting for the promotion, even if you're just in the playoffs. It's something to really gear towards. But it's important that we don't sort of just rest on our laurels and sort of not try our hardest for the last 2 games. It's still important. Players are playing for contracts and stuff. And for me personally, I've had I think 16 or 17 goal involvements this season. So my motivation is catching Aaron, who's on 18. That's my main motivation for the next 2. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The fans took to me very quickly and very well. And we've had a good rapport all season. I've just loved my time here, to be honest. So I would just like to obviously thank everyone involved. Yeah.
Excellent to hear from Orient's very own Flying Scotsman there. Brendan, how do you sum up Theo's season? Because for me, personally, he's made a huge impact here at the club. Yeah,
he's been excellent. I think earlier on in the season, I think he was absolutely outstanding. Going down that left wing earlier in the start of the season, he looked electric and he was brilliant. And then, like the rest of the team, it kind of his form struggled for form a little bit. But he's been one of those players who just remained consistent, even if it wasn't quite going for him. He looks like a player, even during that bad run, where he was always giving it his all, always trying to get better and improve the team. And I think one of the highlights of Theo has been some of those interviews he's done with the club. He speaks so well. He's probably one of my favourite Orient players to listen to in terms of what he brings in terms of the media role. And I think I speak for all Orient fans where I think we'd be quite happy if he does return next season, because obviously he is only on loan and he's a Lincoln player till someone else signs him, basically.
I think it was possibly Darren Prattley when we spoke to him post-match a few weeks ago, who says that Theo Archibald comes out with words that no one's ever heard of. So it's an interesting asset to him. But Jabbo, from a striker's point of view, I suppose you could certainly couple Paul Smith in with this as well. How nice is it as a striker just to be able to kind of allow those flying wingers to go down the line, knowing that you're probably going to be on the end of a ball sooner rather than later?
Yeah, it's nice, It's nice when you've got sort of 2 wingers that are dangerous, causing all sorts of problems, and you just have to worry about sort of being in the box to get on the end of one of the crosses. Because nothing worse when you've got a winger and he's not going at them, and then sometimes you're drawn out into the channel. So if you can stay in the box and rely on that good service, and it's going to come in, all you have to do is worry about your movement and try to get on the end of it. So it's really positive.
Yeah, fantastic. Another man who's made a huge impact at the club here at Leyton Orient is our manager, Richie Wellens. Here's his thoughts ahead of this afternoon's game at Crawley.
Gaffer, obviously 4-2 defeat to Northampton at the weekend. What some lessons learned there?
I said I'm not going to read too much into it. It was what it was. There was always going to be a stage where we just dropped from our levels a little bit because of the stage of the season we get to. It's really frustrating. I've been to a couple of games in the last 2 or 3 days and watched teams that are fighting for promotion. You only have to look at the results the other night where Mansfield win, Sutton win and Swindon win. The teams that are fighting for stuff generally do well at this stage of the season. So I'm not going to read too much into it. The lads have been absolutely terrific. We've given him a few more days off this week. It's managed myself and the staff to go out and watch different teams, different players. So listen, it was disappointing to lose, but I think our response in the second half was excellent, and we'll learn from that complacency in the first half.
We spoke about when you come in about style of play and working on the training ground. Obviously, approaching the end of the season now, have you seen some improvements in that regard?
Well, I think we have a clear identity out of possession, and I think a lot of the stuff that we want to do, we've seen it in the games. I think more or less every game, bar the Swindon game where we had 10 men, we've dominated the ball, we've had more possession. Maybe the first half against Rochdale. So I think there's a clare identity there. Is it where we want it? No, absolutely not. But listen, we've come in. Let's rewind 6-7 weeks ago and said you're in this position. Listen, we would have snatched your hand off. Not only to be safe, not only to be comfortably safe with probably 6 or 7 games left, but also to give people belief going into the summer that we can achieve something next year as well.
Obviously, Crawley away this weekend, the side probably just 3 or 4 points ahead of us in the table. Maybe similar to us, not too much to play for. So what are you expecting from the game?
No, I mean he went to the Sutton the other night and lost 3-0. But again, it's this time of the season where I'll go back to it kills you not playing for anything. The amount of intensity that we've put in the first 10-11 games to now get to a stage where we're not playing for anything is so difficult. To carry that intensity and that purpose on, but we need to stay professional. Again, we'll have paying supporters who travel to Crawley to watch us, so we just need to respect them. We need to put on a best performance. I do want us to play with a freedom and play the style of football that we want to play. We didn't do that. We never earned the right against Northampton, so I wanted to enjoy the last couple of games, get more of our patterns out, because I think out of possession we're pretty good. I still think out of possession was decent against Northampton. I was thinking possession was a little bit off it, so try and get back to the standards that we have been set.
Excellent stuff there from the gaffer, Richie Wellens. Now, Jabbo, Richie's obviously had a huge impact since he's arrived here at the club. Like he said in his interview just there, comfortably safe, and he's kind of driven us to 13th in the table. The big thing that seemingly everyone has said, the players mostly, about him coming into the team, is that he gives them freedom and kind of space and time to express themselves. Richie's just said there in his pre-match interview as well that he wants them to just go and enjoy themselves for the last 2 games of the season. It could be fireworks because, it sounds like they're just going to be let off the leash. How do you see this afternoon's game going?
I mean, especially with the young player coming in today, so hopefully, his shackles are off and he can go and enjoy himself. But I mean, sometimes the manager says that to you, then you start trying to do something in the corner. He'll look at you like, hey, you know what I mean? So you have to take that with a pinch of salt. But definitely, I mean, he's give everyone the confidence since he's come in, and they're playing his brand of football now. Like I said, there's an identity there. So hopefully they just continue doing that. Express yourself. There's no pressure on the players or anything. So hopefully they can just keep doing that. Again, setting the stall out for next season. And again, they're trying to stay in the manager's mind themselves. So he's giving them the license. So I expect them just to, free flowing stuff, and an intensity better than sort of last week's game, and take it from there.
And Brendan, you look at our bench this afternoon, and when we're touching on youth as a kind of a common theme over the course of this afternoon, but the bench this afternoon is Sam Sargent, Matt Young, Jaden Sweeney, Dan and Krumer, Ethan Coleman, and then 16-year-old Rion Smith-Kouassi. Not like we need any more Smiths as well, of course, at the club, but that youth.
See how they handle it. Go into pre-season. Hopefully, maybe they can make a real impact and become more regular, because we've had such a good record recently of bringing these players through and getting youth academy graduates into the first team. So hopefully, this crop that are coming recently. I know they played today and unfortunately lost, but they were quite high up in the league. So hopefully, it's another good crop at Orient. Hopefully, that we'll see a few of those today, like young Rion Smith-Kouassi.
I was going to ask about him because I mean, you can be a huge fan of any club, but then a name will always come along and surprise you. What do we know of young 16-year-old striker Rion Smith-Kouassi, other than the fact that he's a 16-year-old striker?
I think I've seen him play once for the youth team, so I'm not going to proclaim to be an expert, but he's pretty quick. He's a good finisher. He's had interest, I think, from other clubs, but Orient have managed to keep him at the club, so that's a big part of that, and hopefully, like you say, if there's going 10 minutes to go, maybe you can get on for the last 10, 15 minutes and make a real impact and show everyone what he can do.
Yeah, and Jabbo, just going back to this afternoon's game as we kind of hurtle towards kick-off, which is fast approaching. What do you expect from us this afternoon? As Brendan said earlier, Crawley don't come in here with a great run of form, though those 2 defeats that they've had in the last 2 games have been against teams who are still fighting for playoff places. Kind of how important do you think it is just to mentally kind of try and leapfrog them if we win the next 2 games of the season?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that will be in the manager's team talk, because I definitely coming to this stage of season, especially when there's nothing to play for. You always play to win, but sometimes someone is dropping a little bit of a saying or a quote just gives you that extra galvanizes the team a bit more, because it is kind of the end of the season. As much as we don't want to admit it as players, sometimes you just that extra intensity sometimes just lost. It's just one of those natural things. So hopefully they'll set the stall out from the start. They'll ease themselves into the game, and then if they're moving the ball well, they'll grow with confidence, and hopefully it's energetic. There's an intensity about the game, and it's just not like a end of season sort of like nothing to play for game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan, just finally, how much do you think this is kind of it's a strange game because it's quite symptomatic of the fact of where we are as a club this season. We've scored more goals than Crawley, and we've conceded fewer than them this season, yet we're below them in the table.
Yeah, it's been that case all season where when we play well, we tend to play really well and blow teams away, and we just can't sometimes grind out a win, and that was shown by the stat that we all love, that we've only won 1 game this season by 1 goal, and hopefully today, hope we do it again, and we keep it at 1 goal, at 1 game, and win today by 2 or more clear goals, and hopefully if this team performs as I know they can, I think they can do that against a Crawley side who probably a bit disjointed at the minute.
And you're still sticking with those stats as well. You're saying it's just the one time that we've only won by one goal rather than going through the whole season. Well, as you can see there at the People's Pension Stadium down at Crawley, we're ready to cross over to our matchday commentary team of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Cheers, James.
Good afternoon, welcome to West Sussex Crawley, where Leyton Orient won here earlier in the campaign, but Leyton Orient haven't picked up maximum points on many visits here over the campaign, over the various seasons, Matt.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's definitely a bogey club in terms of league success. As you say, 6 visits here so far, yet to record a victory. But looking forward to this afternoon, perhaps experimental from Richie Wellens, as we see Zach Obiero get his league debut. And at 17 years of age, 3 months, it's a big afternoon for that young man.
It certainly is. There's some illness, some injuries as well for Matt.
There is 4 changes for the O's this afternoon, and in comes Jordan Brown. He starts at right back, we understand. Hector Cipriano back from his suspension. Obiero, we mentioned, gets his full league debut. And Alex Mitchell starts for the O's, missing out Shadogi through suspension. Raul Sotirio has illness, and we understand Darren Pratley and Harry Smith have both picked up knocks in the week.
And Leyton Orient are wearing the grey strip this afternoon because Crawley are in all red. We both bought a match day programme, and I've looked through it. I can't find John Yem's name mentioned. He is currently suspended. The allegation is use of discriminatory language towards club staff during the course of the season. But his name is being called by the Crawley Town supporters.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think new owners is always an added interest there in terms of will they really want John Yems at the club, irrespective of the outcome of that investigation. But our focus, of course, is always on the O's, and this afternoon, as I say, big afternoon for that young man, Zach Obiero. I'm sure there'll be a few butterflies going through his stomach right now as he gets some high fives from his teammates. Paul Smith wraps his arms round the shoulders of the young man. As I say, big afternoon for any youngster, but at the tender age of 17, it is one almighty task.
I know it's easy to dismiss the fact that this is a mid-table game, but the fact that Leyton Orient could finish in the top half shows just what Richie Wellens has achieved in just 9 weeks.
Yeah, perhaps similar as well. You could go back to the season, of course, where Justin Edinburgh came in and he managed to get the O's moving up the table quickly. Just missed out on a top half finish, finished 13th from memory, but there was certainly momentum building. And in Richie Wellens' 11 games so far, 6 wins, 2 draws and 3 defeats. He'll be looking to continue to build that this afternoon. Another win to make it 7, and then a game next week at home. He'll want a strong finish.
Lewis John in charge of Crawley Town. He's the youth